All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're very fortunate today from the St. Rose office branch to have the #1 team leader in the company with us today, Matt Mullin, ladies and gentlemen. So, Matt, tell them a little about yourself, how long you've been doing this, all that good stuff, please.
So I'm happy to share my experience.
Just right there. There you go.
One of my mentors had a quote early on that said, "Experience, good choices come from experience. Experience comes from bad choices." So I'm happy to share all the experience and bad choices I've had over the last 20 years in this business. But I was born and raised here in Las Vegas, and first job after college, my background was in corporate finance and equity research, and I thought I was going to go down the path of business school, and that's the path to success. But my dad was actually an agent in the business at this company back in the 80s, and I had a friend that was a real estate broker. When I got all frustrated and fed up with my 3% raise and 50 hours a week, and I wanted to work for myself, and I want to have freedom, they said, well, stop complaining and get your real estate license and get to work.
That sounds like Mark. Was Mark talking to you? Because Mark and your father were good friends, right?
Yeah. Little did I know that I wasn't going to be working for myself with all sorts of freedom. I was going to be working for 15 clients, and we'll see if I get paid for it. Just depends on how good. So that's how I got started.
Right. Awesome. And now you've been, how long have you been doing it?
20 years.
20 years.
So, and over, this is actually the 20th year this month.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes. And how did you give them a little bit of the progression? Your first couple years, how'd you do, and how'd you go from there?
First couple years, I actually started off with a friend who was a real estate broker and encouraged me to get my license. And actually, when I first got started in the business, I did not want to be a realtor. I didn't want to be a real estate agent. And he said, oh, well, it's all good. We'll work with investors. And he kind of appealed to my ego that I'm going to be working in finance with investors. So when I just got my license, started working with him, and that was in 2003, 2004, 2005. And ultimately, I just kind of got started. One thing that I reflect back on is I came from a job, I came from a corporate world, I came from a corporate structure. So when I first got into the business, it was kind of just natural. It was me and 3 people in an independent office, and it was independent brokerage. And I didn't want, quite frankly, I didn't want to have anything to do with the large companies at the time,
right?
Because I wanted to be different, and we wanted to be investment advisors. And I took it for granted because my first several months in, I was like, well, I get up, I get dressed, I go to an office, and I work. That's what I do every single day. So I did that. So my first 6 months, I just kept doing that, even though I was going to an empty office with 3 desks, and I sat in the office and it was natural to work from 8 in the morning till 5 at night. I just started emailing all the people I used to work with, calling all the people I used to work with, and I started getting busy with past fellow colleagues, and I said, I really like this. I like the creativity of it. I like the fact that no situation's the same. I like the fact that there's a little bit more meaning and emotion than just pure working with investors. So, and I'm an analytical introvert, so I overcomplicate everything. And but I realized early on that I really liked the problem-solving nature of the business. And so, first 6 years, kind of independent office, just working on my own transactions. I think I'm grateful for it now, but I certainly wasn't grateful for it at the time, because I didn't even know at the time when I first got in 2003 that most of my first clients were buyers. So I was helping friends buy their first homes. So I'm working with first-time home buyers, not really knowing what's going on in the market. Last time people were fighting over properties, and there were lines out the door, undersupplied market. And but I'm grateful for it now because I got training working for buyers in a highly competitive situation. How do I get offers accepted? And then finally, everyone's like, you gotta get listings, you're gonna get some time back, and it's gonna be a little bit easier. Finally, I started getting listings when there were 24,000 homes on the market and 800 selling every single month, and no listings were selling, and very few were selling. In 2008-9. So I got, then I got to have the experience of listings sitting on the market for 6 months and sellers saying, what are you doing to sell my house? So I kind of got trained on both extremes, and I didn't even know it at the time, but was really grateful for it. And then in 2009, the broker that I was with was like, I don't like where this is going. That's when the short sale market came in, and I don't really want to do this anymore. And I was growing. At that time, I was probably, it was just me. 90% of my business was buyers. I was probably doing 40 or 50 transactions a year. And I was working 7 days a week. I was working all the time. I was on call. I didn't have kids at the time. I didn't have family. And I almost burnt out and quit. I said, there's got to be a better way to do this. And that's sort of when I joined at the time, Prudential, Americana Group, and via Mark, and in 2009. And that was a trajectory change. That was like surrounding with people doing a lot more business than I was doing. I started thinking more in terms of building the business and building a team. The team started with the fact that I wanted to be able to say yes and help more people, but I wanted my life back. And so I just started with getting some help. I had a couple people join. I had my first licensed assistant start helping me work on things so it wasn't all me. And then I was like, well, this is nice. This is fun again. I can do what I love doing. I can work. Yeah.
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. What was the one thing that burnt you out? Was it the paperwork? Was it just,
It was there was no clear focus on what I was trying to build.
Yeah.
I didn't have personal clarity, ultimately. But the real thing, I didn't have any structure. I was just kind of saying yes to everybody all the time and doing everything for everybody.
Yeah.
And I was running around without processes and without systems and without an effective way, kind of rein the
But
business.
a dynamite agent, but doing everything and where eventually you have to get to a point where, like you said, you have to get clarity, you have to set a plan, then you can get even way more productive. Because it will burn you out, right?
Yeah, I almost quit the business. In 2009.
You mentioned, didn't we get as high as almost 30,000 properties on the market at one time?
Yeah, at peak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what are there now? Like, what, 4,000?
Yeah, 5,000.
Yeah.
And what year was this, that you got your assistant?
2009.
I wonder how many agents there were saturating the market in 2009 compared to now.
Yeah.
How many?
That's when
I learned a lot. Actually, one of the biggest regrets I have in my career was not surrounding myself with more expertise, experience, mentors, things earlier on, and actually learned from Mark Stark at this company in an early business building class. Focus on your strengths, backfill the weaknesses. Do what you love doing and what you're great at, and you don't have to fix everything, but it's got to be done somehow. And it all depends on. And another mentor later in my career that really helped build it was one of my coaches. I call them the 3 evil questions. So this was the real change when I got clear on how big of a business do I want to build, because everything I'm sharing, too, my experience, it could be wrong for you. That's one of my biggest lessons. You got to get clear on what's right for you, for the size of business and lifestyle that you want to create in this business. That was the hardest lesson I learned, because I spent a lot of time trying to be other people. Like, well, look at what they're doing. I need to do that. Look at what they're doing. I need to do that. And I spent a lot of time chasing other people's business models without clarity on my own. And the 3 key questions that I got from one of my mentors and coaches was, who are you? What do you really want? And what prices are you willing to pay to get it?
I love those questions.
So I decided I do want to build a bigger business. I do want to help people in the areas that I'm strong. And the price I'm willing to pay to do that is get outside of my comfort zone a little bit and bring on some more people and bring on some more help and start building things that are providing value to others. Actually, the real critical factor was the light bulb went off for me. It was in one of Mark's business building classes. And we had this little exercise, write down everything you did in the last week. So I made a list, wrote down all the things I did on my schedule for the last week, gave us some time to do it. And he said, okay, now, on the other side of the paper, I want you to write down the things that are most important to you in your life. And I started making a list. Now just look at those 2 lists. And I looked at them and I was like, oh no.
Yeah, nothing in common.
I'm doing nothing that's really important to me in my life, and I'm spending all this time on other things and busy work. And that's right when I have 3 kids, and I've been married 18 years, and I was like, I'm maybe doing great at work, but this isn't the life I want to live, you know. And it got me focused on the adjustments that I needed.
Yeah, I remember when you first started with the company, we sat down and you told me about how much you want to work and how much time you want to spend with your kids, and you did that too, so which is great.
Yeah.
And you still are.
Yeah. Well, I had to I had to answer those questions, and I had to decide what's the right design for me. So.
When I started with the company, Matt was filling in for Mark as the manager for Sahara. Remember that? So he goes from being, top agent, running his team, and still running his team from St. Rose, and then stepped in and managed Sahara for the time being until we stole Amanda from Mike Ferry.
Yeah. Well, I learned a lot there too. So yeah, I guess I didn't complete the progression. So I kind of wore a lot of the hats of the business: independent agent, independent brokerage, agent at a company like this one, team leader, broker, office manager, and it boils back to those 3 questions. How do I want to spend it? My dad told me when I was graduating from college, actually, he said, "You're not gonna have a problem finding something to do. You're gonna have to decide how you want to spend the minutes of your day, and that's going to be your biggest challenge. Aligning how you want to spend the minutes of your day and make it fun."
Right.
So.
And that was a big stress for you, because like running an office, and so a lot of these things that you've done have really helped you in order to grow your team the way it is.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, you hear the cliche things. Well, price you're willing to pay, and you hear cliche things like get outside your comfort zone. Okay, everyone's probably heard that, But I don't think I fully appreciated just how important that is until I pushed myself, and then things that I used to not imagine were possible or something that I would have any interest in doing became a little bit easier. I actually remember, I'm an analytical introvert. This is difficult for me.
But huge when you're done, right? Yeah.
So yeah, but I remember the first time that I ever, John Joseph.
Like doing office meetings, yeah.
Yeah, well, and sales meetings too. But John Joseph asked me when I first joined the company, I had a very, very clear buyer process, that came out of a lot of pain. and John's like, "Oh, you got to go share that with the office at a sales meeting." And I just joined the company. I was 6 years in the business. It was at the Green Valley office. There's a room full of 70 of the biggest names I've seen in the industry. I saw the signs all over town and everything, people with way more experience than me. And he was pushing me. I knew he was pushing me outside my comfort zone. I stood up there and I was like shaking and had my note cards but I did it. And the feeling afterwards, it's like getting a little bit stronger. Oh, okay, a little bit more confidence. Oh, I'll try something else new. It was kind of, right. It led to, and Mark told me once. Mark said, if you do the hard things, they become a lot easier.
True.
And
well, when I started the company, and I knew after getting to know you, I was like, Mark Stark is one of the best salespersons I've ever met, because he talked you into running your team and managing your office.
Yeah, well.
So as an analytical introvert, how did you get your clients? I mean, you said when you first started, they were previous colleagues.
Yeah.
So how did you?
That's a really, really good question.
It is.
So this opens up something that was big for me, was changing some of my own beliefs. And I wanted to be a charity. I wanted to be different, so I didn't want to sound like everybody else. I don't want to be a salesman or saleswoman I don't want to be in sales.
Well, it depends. Today you could be.
So I was like, I don't want to be in sales. I'm not in sales. I'm an advisor. I'm a consultant. So I told myself that. Little did I know at the time that was actually the most valuable thing I was doing, was asking questions and helping people figure things out rather than selling anything. One of my personal mantras that I think it actually, when I really owned it and changed all my processes around it, is questions attract and statements repel. And questions, so the analytical, I was naturally curious. I wanted to understand everything. I was asking all sorts of questions, and I didn't know at the time that was like the most valuable thing I was doing. But finding clients, I'm also an amiable. you know? So I just spent a ton of time with friends. I went into my whole entire database, so that what I shared earlier about how I started and how I just naturally decided I'm gonna go into the office and work every single day. I got dressed, I put clothes on, I drove into the office. I didn't have to, but I sat down at the desk and I just started calling, texting, and emailing every single person that I knew, saying, how's it going? You wanna grab coffee? How's it going? You wanna grab lunch? Hey, what are you doing this weekend? Hey, you wanna play some tennis? I was a tennis player. So I just knew that if I talked to enough people, the natural next question is, yeah, let's do it. So what are you doing now? You're not there anymore? Yeah, I'm in real estate. Well, how's the market? It just led to, first clients were all the people I knew.
Sphere, start with the sphere, yeah.
Right.
That's always the best place. When you start being on purpose about your prospecting, it's always the best place to start.
So you came from a corporate background.
Yep.
I came from a corporate background, and we were used to that 9 to 5 or 8 to 4 scenario. So it's easy for us to go into real estate and say, okay, I gotta go to work from this time to this time. I think one of the biggest things is, correct me if I'm wrong, where a new agent comes in and he's got all the free time. I think that's the hardest thing, because I know you
There's
hire
no
new
structure.
agents, and it's,
Yeah.
if there's no structure, you know, that's the hardest thing to guide somebody, am I right?
No, I actually think one of the biggest challenges that anybody will face in this business, and that I faced, was the fact that there are unlimited right ways to do it. And there's unlimited options, there's almost too many, and...
You can overanalyze it.
Yeah, well,
I'm guessing your bio process that you presented was very structured.
I look at it now and I'm like, whoa, that's a little bit over the top, but there's some core things that, that were the most important things for me, and that were, my job is not to tell anybody what they should do. So this is one of my core beliefs. When I think somehow it came up earlier, it's like, what changed, or how did you do it? I have a core belief. It is not my job to tell anybody what they should do. I don't know what's best for another human being. I can't predict the future. My job is to help them get clear on what they want and provide options and creative solutions how to get. Now that's what helped me as an analytical problem solver get over the fact that that's all I'm here to do. And I've been in the business 20 years, and you saw we made a change when the market shifted last summer. I've seen a lot of markets in 20 years. And last April, when the market started shifting and inventory was rising like this and interest rates are going like this, I'm like, oh no. This could get ugly. And this could get really bad. And the only thing I knew what to do at that time was change and ramp up activities. Just dramatically ramp up activities. It sounds that simple, but as the analytical that looked for every single possible potential easier solution out there, the conclusion I came to was we just have to 4 times our activities. So for the last 10 years, we kind of had a focus of have your hot 10 relationships and look at it every single day and drive focus, because I know for me, even 20 years ago when I first got started, my follow-up process was a yellow pad and a list of names, and I looked at it every single day, and next to each name was what did they say they want and what's the next step. And it was that simple. That was my CRM. It was a yellow pad.
I used to do the same thing.
And
on good days, it was 2-3 pages long.
Yeah, well, and guess what my CRM is today?
The same.
A list of names of the most likely people that need help right now, that have said they're the most motivated to do something with what they want, and next steps, and I'm always driving it forward. Because now, I believe in database management and CRM and follow-up and things like that, but I also know that things get lost, and focus gets lost. And I had a tough lesson early on. I used to not want to bother people. I don't want to bother them. They'll call me when they're ready. I have them set up on a search. They've seen all the properties out there. They've seen everything that's They'll call me when they want to see something. And I had an experience early on that was kind of a humbling one for me. I thought I knew it all. I went through the know-it-all phase. Like as soon as I started doing a lot of business, I was like, oh, I know how this is going to go, and I know what's going to happen here. That's why I shifted that belief to I can't predict the future. Because I had a situation where one of my associates who was helping me out, I was like, oh, those clients aren't going to do anything. Like, I've shown them properties many times, we got the search set up, and they look at it every single day, but they're not doing anything. And she prodded me. She was like, well, yeah, what about this property? Did you see this one? And I said, no, it's not in their search. It's not in the criteria. This is my rigid analytical saying.
Don't step outside the
They
yard.
said they wanted, Green Valley and 2,000 square feet and this price point. Why on earth would they look at that? That is in the northwest part. That's not what they want. It's not what they said. It's not in the search. Yeah, but I think it might. And I was like, oh, well, give them a call and see what happens. She called, showed the property, and she put the home in escrow. And that was like my light bulb that I always have to be providing options and creative solutions and testing things. It's always on me.
No matter what they say, because sometimes they, oh, I never even thought of that. Yes, I like that.
Right.
Yeah, so that was a big look in the mirror moment for me. You were talking about Taylor Swift earlier.
Yeah.
One of her songs is like brilliant. That anti-hero song, the words, I'll stare directly at the sun, but never in the mirror. So that was my...
That's what you see. She's a smart girl.
Yeah, very
She
good.
really is. Some of their songs are really good too. I mean, and her performances are incredible. But enough about that. So it sounds like a lot of this stuff that you were doing back then is all these different things you were learning. It's exactly what allowed you to have your system for your team.
Yeah, and I believe in getting clear on what you love doing and your strengths. I said that a couple times already, but that you reminded me. I veered on a different path, but I was gonna talk about the change last year.
Okay.
So the 4 times the activities was the decision. Okay, that's the way to survive this market. If I needed a hot group of 10 people to do 2 or 3 transactions out of a group of 10, so I've simplified 20 years down to pretty much last year, before the market change, 10 people you could do 2 or 3 at a time. If you always have 10. When the market shifted, we changed it to 40. Said 40 people are needed. Because look at the change. Oh, I'm not sure. Oh,
Interest
there's a lot of
rates,
fear.
yeah.
Interest rates are high. That didn't work out. It's taken 3 to 5 months maybe to sell a house instead of 3 to 5 hours. It's taking maybe a couple months of looking with one client instead of a couple days. All of that stretching out means you need more to do the same. And that was the light bulb moment for me. I said, it's just got to push the gas and do new things and do uncomfortable things. They weren't doing. If you want different results, you got to do different things. So that, it was that
the question you asked earlier too.
So I was going down, and what sparked that was the getting uncomfortable. We have database people that we're generating, and Daniel Bostic, we were
He's
talking
great.
about how do we generate more, and we just decided we're gonna start calling into our database. I hadn't done that forever. And 4 days a week, 9:30, 11:30, we get in the office, we pull our database, and we just start calling people that signed up on the website. And I had to get over that because I don't, cold calling or I don't know. It's all beliefs. I'm going to share this. Some of you have maybe heard me say this before, but I have a model that helps me. My beliefs drive my behavior, and my behavior is what gets me the results. Beliefs drive behaviors, drive results. That's something I learned from one of my mentors and coaching programs. So if my example, if I believe that there's a snake right there and I believe it's a real snake, what do you think I'm going to do?
Run.
Yeah, I'm going to run out that door. That's a real snake. I'm out of here. So if I believe it's a toy snake, what am I going to do?
Go pick it up.
Yeah, it's going to change my behavior. That belief just changed my behavior. I actually had a situation, you hear me tell this story, I believe, yeah. So I actually had a real situation with this in like a hybrid format. We have a little closet by our kitchen in our old house and had all of our Halloween supplies stored down there. And I open the door and it's like the pantry, and I look down there and I see a tarantula. And I'm like, oh, how'd that, we had plastic tarantula, or how'd that tarantula get out of the supplies? It's right there. And I leaned down to pick it up and it went, I was like, that's it. Yeah. So.
That changed your beliefs instantly.
Yeah, no, that's instant change of beliefs, instant change of behavior, because I called my wife, I said, you gotta come handle this. She's the one that handles that stuff in our house. So my beliefs drive my behavior drives my results.
That's funny.
If my belief is, I only need to be working with 10 people to get this done, then my behavior gets there. If I believe that open houses don't work, what do you think I'm going to do? I'm not going to hold them. If I believe I'm going to get a new client opportunity every single 6 hours I hold an open house, what do you think I'm going to do? I have an associate that has that results and just knows it, has dialed it in, like fully, like I know every single 6 hours I'm there meeting people, I will have one new person in my follow-up pipeline to work with. For me, when that market shift happened and we got into calling into our database, it's like I don't want to be cold calling, I don't want to be, I don't want to be in sales. So my belief change was, I'm just here to help people that aren't getting the results they want. I'm actually offering them an out and some options that maybe they don't have at their fingertips right now. My belief isn't I'm selling anybody anything, So my behavior changed. This morning, I sat in the office and pulled a list of 31 and just started calling people I don't know and saying, noticed you've been doing some homework online. How's the home search going? How can we help? That's it. That's, so my behavior changes. I do the things.
You do the thing.
Well,
Yeah, and you have and you have a great team now because you also a few years ago you changed the way you hire people on your team. You did the complete coaching process, and now they're on the team. They're responsible for certain things. So
yeah,
tell them a little about that. Too.
Well, okay. That was a light bulb moment for me, leading a group of people. But it's back to the same belief. When I first started building and growing the team, I thought I need to have all the answers because I'm the one that's the expert and been doing. Clients trap me in this. Used to trap me in this all the time. Well, you're the expert. Tell me. You tell me. But the belief shift was, no, it's not, I don't have the answers for another human being. That's that core belief I shared earlier. So same thing with building and growing the teams. Early on, I had somebody come in, and this associate is a heavily extroverted, life of the party, really good at things that I'm just horrible at, and engaging people, and extroverted driver extrovert. I'm an analytical amiable.
Right.
Complete opposites.
You're talking about Andrew?
No.
Oh.
But yeah, he is.
When you were talking, I was thinking when he said I need all the answers, I was thinking because remember when he introduced you and he goes, and our Princeton grad.
Yeah, but I made the mistake of thinking, well, she's doing it all wrong. She's, you gotta have your spreadsheet, you gotta have your structure, and you gotta, blah 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 blah. And I tried to start changing and giving the answers to someone that, no, absolutely, that's not what she needed. And so when I first started building a team, I thought I had to tell everybody what they needed to do because I'm the expert. And I was responsible for telling them what they needed to do. And I was responsible for holding people accountable and managing people. And the belief shifts that I had was, I'm not responsible for managing people. I'm responsible for managing systems because that's my strength that manage people. I'm responsible for creating an environment that allows people to be productive. I'm not here to hold people accountable. I'm here to hire accountable people. I learned that from someone. That was a belief shift, So, but ultimately it's about alignment. Either you like what you're doing on a day-to-day basis or you don't. And there's lots of right ways to do it. So I don't know if that's...
Yeah, no, and I think that goes in along with your process because your process, they have to be self-starters. Like, when you get somebody on your team, your social media campaign and the things you take them through, somebody has to want to work and somebody has to want to be responsible and somebody has to want to be successful to be on your team. You're not just going to hire bodies.
Yeah, no, I can't. I actually just had lunch with somebody before coming over here and said I'm looking for somebody to hold me accountable. I said, well, then I don't think we're the right fit.
Right.
Because I'm basically an advisory platform with resources for entrepreneurs that don't need someone to tell them what to do or when to do it and are going to take advantage of all the resources at their fingertips and want to build their business with our resources.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many people get in my coaching and they go, okay, Rick, motivate me. I don't do that.
Well, tell me what you want. Who are you? What do you want? What price do you want to pay?
Exactly. You guys can ask questions too.
How many units do you guys, if you don't mind me asking, how many units do you guys typically do a year as a team? Do you mind?
No, for the last 10 years, with 12 to 15 people, we've been anywhere from 280 to 320.
Oh, sure.
And right now, we have 40 homes in escrow and 37 on the market. a little.
That's awesome. And a market that's kind of.
More people now, though. I mean, that's, you know, I made a decision last year when the market changed. I needed a change.
Jerry, are you noticing more inventory coming on, or is it still very restricted? I mean, what are you seeing?
Just in terms of a market stat,
Yeah.
it looks pretty consistent.
Okay.
But in terms of our listing volume, it's going up because we went proactive with our activities and we're,
Good
you know,
improvement.
talking to people that I believe, my belief, again, back to beliefs drive behavior, drive results, my belief is a lot of people aren't selling just because they don't know what they can do,
Okay.
not because of market conditions.
Yeah, I remember you telling me at convention, I need to hire more people. I remember we were talking before, right before
Yeah,
the escalator.
because
We sat down for a minute and you're like, I need more people and this is what I'm gonna do.
Well, that's the same thing. It's, if what I really want is to help people thrive in the business, but I knew when the market changed, not everybody's gonna want to do what it's gonna take to thrive in the market. Not everybody's gonna, people quit the business, people go get other jobs, people, I don't want that anymore. I wanted that before, but now, I want to support individual growth no matter where that is, with me or somewhere else. And I knew that if I wanted to I view my responsibility as to actually keep the, you know, we're a brokerage, basically, or business, and I'm providing central resource. I'm responsible to make sure that volume stays, to make sure those that are using them can continue using them. So I did this, I took my own advice. Actually, you know, like I believe, Daniel, do you know what Daniel Pink? You know what Daniel Pink is? Yeah, Daniel Pink gave a talk and he was like, I eat my own dog food. You know, like I take my own advice. I was like, if I'm promoting ramp up activities and generate so you don't have to tolerate, how am I doing that as a leader? And I said, well, I got to generate more opportunities for the group so I don't have to tolerate, or I don't get stressed out, or doesn't risk the business because somebody decides they want to leave, etc. So yeah, we went from 15 associates last summer to 42 as of today.
Wow.
And what do you think, where do you think you'll end up this year? How many closed transactions?
Closed transaction?
Yeah.
357.
No. That's a ball, by the way. Now, if I had asked you specifically, you would have said,
Yeah,
something. That's amazing, that's great, good job, man, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Any other questions for him?
I have a question. You mentioned calling leads, and you said you were doing your homework online. We saw you were, so where online? On your website, or do you buy leads? Like,
Great question.
can you
Yeah, good
explain
question.
that?
We do Google PPC,
Okay.
and that's it.
What's Google
And
PPC?
we do paid display
For
ads on Google.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of CRM providers will do it for you. There's, yeah. We have-
But they generate, like I've was that 2 months ago, I spoke at one of his group meetings, and you know, when you go in there, they ask great questions, they have a pipeline, they practice. You know, I even coach a couple of people on his team now and then, they circulate through, and they're always very productive. They, you know, you have to want to be successful with this business, and you have to do like, you know, and especially for a super analytical, some of the stuff that you've done, you've gotten you way outside your comfort zone. You have to be able to be comfortable being uncomfortable once in a while as you grow down this thing, because this business will pay you a lot of money if you're willing to get outside your comfort zone.
I'm right now, this year, and from last summer, I had another major light bulb moment in my career that it's just, I gotta simplify. Simplify to multiply results. Do less things better. That's what I'm focused on right now. Not all these things. Less. The most important things. The highest impact things. It is expensive at higher volumes. We started out with a CRM that, you know, for a couple $100 a month, we were getting a couple a day. And just built it once we started converting. And now it's not even that, I mean, well, I shouldn't say it's that expensive, but I'll tell you right flat out, right now we spend about $2,000 a month on Google ads and we get 8 a day.
That's pretty good.
And you pass them out, right?
Well, we call them
And then decide, yeah.
and follow up consistently, and that's a change we made. We used to think, well, I need this highly complex, I tried to complicate it, we need this, you know, 72-point drip nurture program CRM process with all this and that and this and that, and I realized it's just timing, and it's just people are ready when they're ready, you just gotta catch them when they're ready. And so we do have some nurture things going on, but all we really do now is we pull a list every single day, we call everybody, we say, how's it going and how can we help you? And how have the changes in the market changed your goals?
So who's doing the SEO or PPC for you? You do it or is somebody else?
We had somebody else do it, and then we had somebody internally that had the skills, so then we had them do it.
Is that Daniel? Is Daniel doing it?
No, Kevin.
Kevin, really?
Yeah, my brother-in-law.
Nice.
But we had a lot of CRM providers just built it into their stuff now.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, where you don't have to. It's just part of their subscription. They do it for you.
But early on, you know, the best way to create your own pipeline is by calling people, door knocking, talking to them, loading them up. Like Matt said, you know, people are ready when they're ready, and if you talk to enough people, you're gonna find people ready now.
Yeah, these people are actually looking though.
Yeah.
You know, somebody in their house,
Yeah.
door
Well,
knocking.
I know, but I'm just saying it's expensive when you're an
No,
individual
I-
agent. It's good.
No,
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, our highest three: sphere of influence and database, open house, and Zillow, and online.
Yeah. In that order?
Yeah.
Yeah, see, in that, yeah. I, as an agent, I had my team too, and I never, look, back then we didn't have online leads really. It just was really starting when I stopped doing it full time, but we made all ours just by talking to people. If you get really consistent with it, you can do a lot of business from it.
It goes back to my three questions: Who are you? What do you want? What price do you want to pay?
Exactly.
Who are you? Do you want to be out networking? Do you want to be at open houses? Do you want to be meeting people in your sphere? Do you want to be running events? Do you want to be doing things that just cost time and not money? Okay, do that. What do you want? How much business do you want? Is all this necessary, or is just this necessary? And the price you're willing to pay. Are you willing to write a check to have it come in and have the phone ring, or you want to not write the check and go find it in other ways? It's just personal decisions. There's no right or wrong.
Well, since we mentioned Andrew and Mark, why don't you tell them a little about that great program they have out there for coaching, which I think is great for a lot of people, because it's cheap.
Well, so a lot of the things that I shared today were a result of mentors in my career. Just about everything that I shared and I learned and the path. My biggest regret was not surrounding myself by more mentors more often sooner. So Mark Stark, who was one of my mentors, and Andrew Undum, who is number 5 team leader in the whole global Berkshire Hathaway network,
Yeah.
who does more business than we do by like almost double out of Maryland.
That's why it's fun watching you guys interact, because you're polar opposites.
Yeah, he's driver expressive and I'm amiable analytical. And so we started a online mentoring platform called Stark Undum Real Estate Mastery. And basically it's a app on your phone, online mentoring app, live monthly workshops direct from Mark and Andrew, training modules built into the back, you know, everything's broken down. So
It's really good, and it's $360 a year. It's cheap.
for,
A year.
that's for partner brokerage. Berkshire
Right.
Hathaway Home Services has
Right.
fees. Yeah.
Right.
So Berkshire
For
Hathaway.
them, I mean, yeah.
Yeah. So if anybody is interested in that, I didn't come here to talk about that.
Right,
but
right.
starkundum.com/BHHS is for Berkshire Hathaway agents, because there's a partnership with Berkshire Hathaway. For non-Berkshire Hathaway agents, starkundum.com.
There's a question back there. Oh,
They want you to repeat that information?
repeat
Can you
the-
write it on the board?
Yeah.
Well, I wonder if we can chat it.
We can put it in the chat, yeah.
When I
So-
first heard
Yeah.
Stark Undum, I thought it was a play on words, like Stark Conundrum. I was like,
That's pretty funny, actually. You should tell Mark that. Stark conundrum.
So
I
it's-
thought it was, I didn't know that was.
For Berkshire Hathaway agents, it's www.stark, S-T-A-R-K, undum, UNDEM.com/BHHS. That's for Berkshire Hathaway agents, because there's a preferred rate for agents in this company of $360 for a year for access to the platform and the community and the live monthly workshops and the training modules. And it's kind of like an internal, you know, Facebook for real estate mastery. And then for non-Berkshire Hathaway agents, it's starkundum.com. It's $9.97 a year.
Yes, 3 times that, yeah. Yeah, it's good stuff. I'm gonna use it in my coaching too. So if you're deciding to join my coaching or whatever, I'm gonna use the training modules in my coaching too, because they're good.
Yeah, and last month, Andrew Undum walked through his entire listing process and working
Yeah.
with sellers and how he works with sellers, how he talks to sellers, how he changes his language, how he,
stuff.
yeah, for
A lot of
everyone
good
to buy it.
stuff.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
it's all
I gotta
broken
go
down.
back and write down, I mean,
Well, that-
you could just
Some of the
do that
lines and the
over
little
and
intricacies he does too.
That right there is why I'm so excited about it, because how many times, I mean, I've been in this business a long time, I've heard a lot of speakers, I've heard a lot of things, and you say, whoa, that was great. I wish, is it recorded? I wish I could see it again. Where's all the information? Can I get all the slides? All the workshops are recorded, the whole thing, but then they're also broken down into little like 3 to 5 minute, 3 to 10 minute modules for each section with corresponding materials.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, those little intricacies and so forth when you're out presenting are really important, I think.
Well, that actually, I mean, that's probably one of the biggest lessons in my entire career was if I could go back and do any sort of education before getting started in real estate, it would not be learn about real estate. It would be learn about how to have effective conversations with people to help them make decisions. It would be psychology classes. It would be how do I effectively interview and ask questions to help somebody get clear on what they want and help them make decisions. It would be decision-making processes. You know, those are the types of things we're going to focus on in the community. Because you can learn the technicalities of real estate anywhere.
So, okay, so let's do this, let's finish with this. Give me your top three. So, I'm a new agent, or I'm trying to go to the next level, I'm trying to maximize my real estate existence, not necessarily team, but just individual. What would be your top three you tell them to think about? I know you thought about this because it's one of the questions, so I had to ask you.
One of what?
On the list.
Is it?
That she sent you, isn't it?
I didn't get a list of questions as well.
Here it is. Well, see, because I am not in one.
Yeah.
She didn't send, oh, maybe she didn't send you the list.
So how am I doing?
I know you
how am I
don't
doing
do
for showing up not prepared? It's like the first thing.
You are always prepared.
Actually, one of my coaches challenged, real quick story, and then I'll answer something.
Sure.
But one of my coaches challenged me when I first started managing the Sahara office, and I was responsible for running the weekly sales meeting every single Tuesday morning at 8:30. I lost sleep on Monday nights. I was sweating in my bed. I knew I had to do
I've been to a couple of them.
And my coach challenged me when he's like, wow, you're getting really stressed out about all those. He's like, well, what would happen if you just showed up? And I'm like, I got nauseous.
Talk about stress. You mean unprepared?
Their meetings are like a revival.
Sahara?
Yes, I thought it was a 12-step program. I'm sorry.
It's like a 12-step program.
Compared to Summerlin.
Hi, my name's Rick and I'm the top producer.
Yeah.
Hi, Rick.
So top things to think about. Number one,
Yes.
answer the questions. Who are you? What do you want? What price are you willing to pay? What do you really want in this business? And the simplest and not simplest exercise I'm doing it again. I did it 10 years ago. When I first heard Mark Stark gave this to me. For many of you may have heard it. It's the 100 wants list. Write a list of 100 things that I want.
Look at this.
Right in our thing.
Oh, you're
Yeah.
okay.
It's it's next.
Is it? Yeah.
It's next, so perfect. Talk about it.
Well, that was one of the most transformative things I did. I sat down and wrote the list,
Is
and
it hard to think of 100 things?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not once you get to 20, then they start flying out of you.
Yeah.
You gotta get to 20.
It's not 20, it's not 30. It took me a while. It took me probably a month,
Okay.
and
It's part of the homework I give you.
I started doing a little routine that I got from Mark as well. Work on the business instead of in the business. And so I set every single Friday afternoon, no appointments. Friday afternoon from noon until 5, when it was time to report to dad duty, no appointments. That was my time to go do whatever I want. Go see a movie, go grab a coffee, but I would spend at least an hour sitting in a coffee shop working on the business instead of just knocking to-dos out and working in the business. And part of that was sit down and make my list. What do I really want? And when I first went through the exercise, in my top 15 to 20, it was things like income and, time and size of business, like superficial things. When I got into the 60s, 70s, and 80s, I had names of people that I wanted to see more often. I wanted to learn how to play piano with my daughters. I want to spend extra time in Bryan Head, Utah in the mountains. Like, it got very detailed. And I changed my schedule and I started doing things differently. I changed my priorities because of the result of that list. I changed the design of the business, and actually, I didn't even look at the list again. And that's why I'm redoing it, because I looked at it a couple years ago and I'm doing everything on the list.
Well, yeah. You just can't put like toothpaste, milk. Yeah. It's gotta be something more meaningful than that.
So I think that's number one.
That's
is
number
just
one.
Get clear on what you want. Get super clear on what you want. And probably step 2 is then look for experts or people that have actually done what you want or are good in the areas that you're not. And
Mentors.
Or just go
Both,
you know.
coaching and mentors.
There's a lot of noise out there these days and a lot of opinions and things everywhere. That's why I think step one is so clear, because you don't need to know about X if you don't even want it,
Right.
you know?
And get clear. Now, okay, so it's driving me crazy. Daniel Pink, he's wrote a couple of books, right? What is the most famous one he's written?
Probably Drive. I mean,
Yeah, that's right, Drive. That's the one,
He's
yeah.
an expert on human motivation.
Right.
Yeah.
He's really good. And the reason I say that is what I do now is, obviously Mark, I talk to Mark all the time, he's one of my mentors, has been since I've been here. But I pick authors that I really like, and I go crazy with everything that I have. And so I consider that person kind of like my mentor, until I exhaust every book and then I hook onto somebody else to do the same thing.
Daniel Pink, he's
He's
brilliant.
good.
He's brilliant. And if you look online,
Binge read one.
Yeah.
if you look Daniel Pink up on social media right now, he's got a new book out. I don't recall the exact name of it, but I watched a talk that he gave because he was kind of promoting his new book. So there's a lot of stuff out there from him right now on social media. And he had like seven ways. If someone messages me, I think I have the outline of at least the 7 topics. I don't have his whole talk because that's proprietary, but
He had to get out.
he had
Because no.
7 ways to act more boldly. And he said, so many times people think they need to do more, add more, add more, add more. He's like, what we really need to do is do less. So that's where I kind of got that. That's where I changed my focus. But he also said, this was one of my biggest roadblocks, is the analytical. I don't want to make a mistake. You know, like I don't, should I do this or should I do that? Should I do this or should I do that? He's like, stop asking yourself, what should I do? And start asking yourself, what could I do? Because what could I do generates a whole lot more ideas and gets you out of fear and better options and better things, better potential. And anyway,
Cool.
happy to share the 7 bullet points on that. Can I wrap up with one final thing?
Well, you haven't given us number 3, you gave us 2, so you gotta give us the 3rd.
Well, okay, then I guess the 3rd one is more of an exercise. It's just based on what we talked about. I think this might be a good one. This was what led to my change last summer. If you get clear on what you want and you go kind of get some information on what it's going to take to do those things from experts, the final one, I got this from my coaching group. I spend $1,600 a month to go to an executive coaching group once a month with other business owners and other CEOs. We hear from expert speakers. I'm in an all-day meeting once a month from 8 in the morning till 5 p.m. Speaker in the morning, listen to other people's, work on each other's train wrecks in the afternoon, because everyone has them. And last summer I was like, oh, I gotta grow and I don't know where to do it. Should I do this? Should I do that? Should I do this? Should I do that? I had all these ideas. I want to do all these things. And one of the members just kind of looked at me and he's like, slow down. And he's the CEO of a pretty big company here. He's like, slow down. He's like, I got an idea. He's like, why don't you make a list of all, do you have a list of all your ideas? Like, of course I have a list I have a spreadsheet of all my ideas. He's like,
Color coded.
so he said,
Categories.
make a list of every idea you have of what you want to do to grow. That's column 1. Make that list. Column 2 is rate every single idea on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being high, on how much income that could actually generate for you. What's the income impact if you did that idea? Scale of 1 to 10, rate it. Second column, write on a scale of 1 to 10, how much money would that cost you to make that happen? Is it a lot of money it's going to cost? Is it a little? This don't have to be perfect. This is 1 to 10 rating system. You just got to be in the ballpark. In the third column, I want you to write on a scale of 1 to 10, how much time is this going to take you to do that idea? How much time are you going to have to invest in it? A lot of time, a little bit of time. And on the final column, I want you to rate all these things on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being high. How excited are you to actually do that thing? Are you passionate about that? Would you do it, or is it high? So I did that thing, wrote my list, rated everything, and I looked at it and I was like, I had 15 ideas. Only one was obviously the right answer for me, based on the fact that it was a high revenue impact, it didn't cost me anything, it didn't take as much time as any of the other stuff, and it was something that I really was passionate and cared about, and that was helping more people in the business by recruiting. So.
Awesome. Cool. Any final questions? Yeah.
Matt, you manage 40 people, and you do it on a daily basis. What do you see that drives some people differently than the other? Is it within themselves, their belief, or is it the thing, or maybe I'm saying it wrong? What separates this top agent from another one? What is their?
That is a fantastic question.
You know,
and
what
that
is
is
the
why I
thing?
shared what I did today, because the number one thing that I've experienced it myself when I'm like this and when I'm on a rocket ship and when I see others just killing it and stuck, it's a lack of clarity on what I want and what I'm doing here. Those that are clear on those three questions, this is why I'm doing it, this is who I am, this is what I really want, and this is the prices I'm willing to pay to get there, and I've got my routine of daily activities. When there's that level of clarity, crush it. It's easy. It becomes easy. I mean, several years ago, I never would have thought I wanted what I'm working on right now, and I'm working on 10 times the amount of stuff that I was working on years ago, and it's easier because clarity.
And the reason I ask that is because I know a lot of your team members, and I can see the difference. So that's what, yeah.
Clarity, I love it.
Clarity and commitment. Clarity and a commitment to actually do it.
All right, man, well, thank you very much for your time today.
Yeah,
Really
thank you.
appreciate it.